Yo, Mr. C. Yeah, can we talk about biomes? Really?
Of course, Taj. Ainsley, positivity.
But of course. And politeness.
So biomes, yeah, there are in fact 10 biomes, so great question. They are tundra, rainforest, savanna, grassland, taiga, desert, deciduous forest, not to be confused with the alpine, as well as marine, and some people would throw chaparral in there, but we'll leave that one out for now. So great question.
Mr. C, what's the deciduous forest, bro? What is that?
Great question, Taj. So since we live in Ohio, we're actually in the deciduous forest right now, believe it or not. There are three major traits, as I'm sure you can imagine, three major traits. Those three major traits are that we have seasons, so we have spring, we have summer, we have fall, we have winter. But speaking of fall, the reason that we call fall fall is because it's named after the deciduous forest. So fall meaning it actually has roots in falling or falling off. Temperatures usually range between about 50 degrees annually around there. Now, living in Ohio, you know they can get higher and they can get lower, but that's about the average that we have for those, Ainsley. And then also, another thing is there's about 30 to 60 inches or so of rain. There's also a lot of different types of vegetation, not as much as some other biomes, but there's a lot more than some others do as well. There's a lot of different animals as well. Does that answer your question?
Nice. Yeah, man.
Mr. Cross, isn't it true that there are savannas in Australia and Africa?
Yup. You mean like Savannah, like the girl?
No, you tosser. Ainsley, apologies. No worries. Ainsley, can you please explain the difference between the two things at least? But of course, I have it here in my notes, Mr. Cross. So, according to sciencing.com, an article written by Ethan Shaw states that true grasslands if you will, supports few, if any, woody plants, while savannas, of course, include varying proportions of shrubs and trees, grading into woodlands, if you will, where canopies begin mingling there. Yes.
What?
Right. So three traits are that there are essentially two seasons. There's the rainy season as well as the dry season. In the rainy season, there's obviously a lot more rain and this is just during that rainy season, not the entire year. There'd be between 15 and 25 inches or so of rain during the rainy season. The average temperature would be probably about 70 degrees or so annually, and it can get pretty humid. And again, the temperature can go lower, it can also go higher. Thank you, too, for understanding that. And as Ainsley did state or quote, I can't remember exactly, but as he quoted, thank you, sir, there are a lot of different types of plants as well as animals, from elephants to crocodiles, as well as even lions, depending on where you are.
Whoa.
Mr. Cross, may you please elaborate on grasslands, please? Of course. Thank you for that question, Ainsley. Grasslands. So grasslands are very similar, but they are not exactly the same. So that's a good question. So they're found in Eurasia, which is between Europe and Asia, that area there. Both of them, not both of them, they can be considered prairies in North America, and they can also be considered what is called a pampas in South America. So in a lot of different places there. So there's three traits. I love three traits, right? So they're found in dry, flat land. Those are not the three traits. That's one trait itself. Thank you. They're also, depending on the location, in the world, they can be between -40 degrees Fahrenheit, really low, and as high as about 70 degrees, so close to the deciduous forest in that average. About 10 to 30 inches or so of rain. There's more than 80 species of animals, depending on where you are. In North America, in the prairies, there's over 300 types of birds that fly around. Crazy.
Yeah.
Taj, I wonder if you can share your insight into the rainforest.
Well, let me think for a second, bro. Alright, so like the tropical rainforest, right? Alright, the tropical rainforest is a forest of like bodaciously tall trees, man. Like it's crazy. Yeah. So like they are between like, I don't know, like 50 and like, I don't know, like 260 inches of rainfall a year. What? It's crazy, man. Like, and like, get this, Mr. Cross. Ainsley, you wanna hear this too, bro? It's crazy, man. Alright, so like, it also gets majorly hot. Like 94 degrees is like kinda hot right there for them, right? But then it can get like 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Dude, I would love 68 degrees Fahrenheit right now in Ohio. It's like not at all 68 degrees, alright? It's crazy, right? But like, Ainsley, check this one out, right? Some scientists guess, alright, you ready for this? Alright, some scientists guess that there's more than half of the globe's like total species and 6% of the entire Earth. That 6% is actually like totally the rainforest, in case you were curious, bro. It's ridiculous.
Nice. Sorry.
So, Mr. Cross, quick question, yo. Like, so what would be the opposite of the rainforest? Would it be the tundra?
Honestly, you can be quite daft at times. Of course, it is not the same thing as the desert.
Actually, in some aspects, you're both right.
What?
What?
So yeah, like I said, since you're both right, both of them get very little rainfall. Both have very little plant life, and they both have very little animal diversity. So you're both right in some respects. However, the desert can be hot or cold. It can be either one.
Dessert? Oh, dude, I love dessert.
It's the desert, not desserts. Do it.
Dessert sounds great. I'm just saying, man.
I'm deserts backwards right now. Anyways, temperatures in the desert can range between 101 degrees Fahrenheit up to 120 degrees or so at the hottest, and they can be as low as about 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Usually this difference occurs between day and night. So at night it's a lot cooler than it is during the day, obviously. The major difference between deserts and the tundra is the location. So the tundra tends to be a lot further north from the equator than the deserts are.
So, Mr. Cross, like, I love surfing, obviously, right? Gotta get that, yeah, man. Love surfing. I love skateboarding and snowboarding, but I feel like we haven't even talked about even anything that's remotely close where I could shred powder. What's up with that?
Shred powder? He means snowboard. I prefer skiing. It's more dignified. Of course you do.
What?
Nothing. Taj. The taiga and alpine are typically where you would probably find some snowboarding areas. Or ski.
Alpine sounds more like it would, you know, a bodacious kind of a place than tundra for shredding powder. But I don't know, you're the expert, Mr. Cross.
Taj, I think you're right. They're basically found in different parts of the world. It's just really dependent on their elevation. So it has to be 10,000 feet or so or above. And during the summertime, it's usually about 50 degrees Fahrenheit or so. And winters can be well below freezing. Very, 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 very cold. Very harsh environments. The plants that are there typically are ground cover plants that aren't really the type to get blown away. So they're very short, they're very close to the ground. And then animals really aren't there either, just very much, just based on the harsh conditions that are happening.
The last biome is best for hitting the waves, bros. Yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So the marine biomes break down to several different types just based on their locations. There are freshwater wetlands, which are a little bit different than just freshwater, oceans, which there's deep, there's shallow, and then everything in between in the ocean, because the ocean has crazy, ridiculous depths. There are also coral reefs, and lastly, estuaries. Now, estuaries can be ranging from a river, a creek, all of those things that branch off from a river and go into larger bodies of water. And one thing that I don't want to leave out is definitely lakes.
Whoa, gnarly. Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. All right, so what other questions do you have? Either of you? None at all.
Nada, bros, if. Yeah.
Dope.